Hi, my name is Geeta and I am the Pottymouth Guru, here to help you learn how to unfuck yourself one video at a time. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Potty, she talking naughty, here to help your trouble, she don't judge nobody. Even if you're not at your top and it's a lie, she try to make you see a different train of thought.
If you guys like what you see today, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to my channel. I have new videos coming out every single week, and make sure that you click on that little belly bell thingy so that you get notified every time I put out a new video. And if you feel like there's something beneficial in this video that might help somebody that you know, please share that shit with them. So today's video is gonna be a little bit different. You know why? Because today's video is gonna be a fucking rant. Yeah. Today's video is about sexism. That's right. Burr, burr, burr. Everybody's freaking out. Oh my God, sexism. Fuck that bitch. Everyone's getting so mad. You know what? Sexism is still very much fucking alive. And I just went through some shit that 100% fucking proves that shit is still alive. So here is my story. Everyone has been deeply affected by COVID, and we also have, our family has as well. And one of the ways that we were affected is the fact that I have a condo rental property in another province that ended up being abandoned by the tenants, which, you know, I have empathy for. I understand they had their own struggles. The problem is that they damaged the fuck out of my apartment, and we had to fork out a fuckload of money to fix those damages. But here's the problem. Along the way, we have dealt with some serious bullshit, and I have dealt with some specific bullshit in the form of sexism and misogyny. As if the drama of the condo wasn't the fuck enough, I was dealing with some sexist, inappropriate fucking bullshit. It started off with, I was communicating with the husband, and he was simply not really acknowledging that I was speaking to him, and it is what it is, and I just sort of, you know, let my husband be like, hey honey, you go deal with that. Because I'll just be over here just, you know, being a woman, you know, so whatever, it is what it is. Then we were dealing with contractors that were suggested by the building to help us with these renovations, and I encountered the same thing, that they were specifically speaking to my husband. Like, I don't know a lot of shit about rentals. Like, I've done a lot of rentals, but I don't know how to organize this project from another province. And my husband has been like project manager on all of this. He's a lot better at this kind of stuff. Outside of any of that, if I'm like directly speaking to a person, regardless of what I know or don't know, it'd be really fucking nice if that person acknowledged that I was speaking to them and spoke back to me in response. And not just my husband. So that was happening. And then the topper. So my building has a property management that helps run everything. It's a condo. And just recently they hired a new property manager. Now I was always ever dealing, I lived there for 13 years, and I was only ever dealing with the assistant manager. Anything that happened, I always dealt with her, and it was always a pretty good experience. And the manager before this person was a woman, but I'd never dealt with her, so I don't have, you know, any experience with her. But they hired a guy, which I could give a fuck. However, I've discovered that this guy has some seriously unhealed shit that he's dealing with in his life because of the way that he responded to me. So the story, I mean, I'm still shocked that this has happened. Like, it's so fucking ludicrous. So we needed a question answered, you know, within 24 hours because we had workers coming to the house the next day. And so I went through this woman, and she couldn't answer the question. So she emailed this manager, and he misunderstood her. So she forwarded us this exchange so that we could deal directly with him, which we did. And I messaged him like, hi, this is my name. I'm an owner of this, you know, property. This is what we need to know. And I'd CC'd my husband on the email, and all of a sudden we get a response where I'm CC'd, and he's speaking only to my husband. But like, he didn't even acknowledge that I spoke, and he answered the question, I would like to say for the record, incorrectly. He was like, didn't even understand what we were talking about. So anyways, so my husband responded with, hey, so I'm not the owner, my wife is, and so, you know, you wanna talk to her, which he totally ignored. And so then this had been an accumulative thing for me with this whole process. And so I wrote him an email and I said, look, you know, I really want to maintain civility in this relationship, and, you know, I'd really appreciate it if I was acknowledged and spoken to. If I'm speaking to you, it was like super polite. It was really nice. There was no attitude. I was looking to mend the relationship. I olive branched it, even though I didn't, you know, it wasn't up to me to do that. But and it was also setting some boundaries, you know, and I expressed that there was an accumulative effect. And so his response was to tell me that he is only ever totally fucking professional in any kind of circumstance, that he just hit the reply all button, and that he deals with things very well, even when dealing with people who have personality issues. Ding, 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 ding. He's fucking talking about me. He like straight up, it wasn't even passive aggressive. He's like, personality issues. Why, motherfucker? Because I stood up for myself? So it started off with sexism of him completely disregarding my existence on this earth, moving straight into misogyny for punishing me, which I will speak about, for standing up for myself, which I will later in this video clarify the difference between sexism and misogyny. Then he doesn't just say, oh, you have personality problems. He then proceeds to illegally tell us that we have to cease and desist all work, and he's threatening us and sending us these like legal little fucking excerpts from, you know, government websites that literally have nothing to do with anything that we're doing. It's not illegal to do the work. We were completely within the law in terms of the province with COVID, in terms of the building rules. It's just been like really fucking stressful. Okay, so quick side note. It's really, really easy to jump to, you're just being like that because you have like a really small dick, and fuck you and your fucking mommy issues. And like, that's the knee jerk for like me too, for most people. But I would like to say on a serious note that people who are sexist, but particularly misogynistic, have unhealed shit that is very much affecting their lens that dates back to a female member of their family of origin. Like, there is some unhealed shit. If you have a hate on or a frustration with a gender, there is something going on there. So I toss it around like fuck you and your little dick, but it has absolutely nothing to do with that. That's just my knee-jerk reaction. And the reality alongside with that knee-jerk reaction is the fact that people have shit going on, and that's why. And folks, I am in no way condoning or excusing shit behavior or any of that kind of stuff. It's just important for our own peace of mind and our own mental health if we find somehow compassion for a situation so that we're not poisoning ourselves with that anger. I also still think we need to pursue shit and call people the fuck out and do what we need to do to stand up for ourselves as well. Those things can exist at the same time. Back to the rant. Shocked and bewildered. We've left it for the moment, you know, and I'm sure he thinks that he's won and, you know, big shot, big shot. However, he just fucked with the wrong woman. I did a fair bit of research and whittled down a little bit of information to share with you guys in terms of some realistic shit about what sexism looks like, because it's not dead. And for those folks that believe that it's a non-issue, it is very much a fucking issue. And listen, when something's been a problem for like hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years, it's not going to change in a few decades. Okay, so like, it's not surprising that this is still an issue. That old mentality, that old paradigm needs to die, but it's also gonna take time for that shit to actually fade out. It's not surprising. And so for those of you who are deniers, it's either benefiting you in some way, or, you know, the payout is that you don't want to admit that it's still happening. Whatever the fuck it is for you, I assure you it is still a problem. So my goal was to rant about it because I fucking want to talk about what bullshit it is. My goal is to educate people on what the fuck is going on a little bit. There's so much to talk about. I could do like 10 videos on this topic, but we're just gonna talk about a few things. And what to do if it's happening to you. And the most important thing to do is to stand up for yourself and to fucking call people out. Okay, we are past the point of not calling people out. I know it makes people feel uncomfortable. I also feel this discomfort, especially if you are a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser. It's really hard to stand up for yourself. And I get that. I mean, some people have no issues and fucking power to you, girls, but some people still have an issue. And I also want to say that men, y'all are our biggest fucking ally. And when I talk about like men and sexism and misogyny, I motherfucking know it's not fucking everybody. I, first of all, married an amazing man who's a feminist who, is gets it. He totally gets it. He gets more pissed off than I do about stuff. And I have many, many friends that are incredible allies for women who don't have those old shitty paradigms that aren't serving anybody. So I'm certainly not saying it's all men. I just want those men that have gotten to a place where they're not fucking sexist or misogynistic to know that y'all are still the minority for the moment. So one of the things that I found, articles that I found in my process for researching this video was a really interesting one. It was from this year, from 2021, and Forbes magazine, and the article is called 3 Reasons Why Sneaky Sexism Still Exists in Ads. So this was an eye-opening article for me to read. Like, in one sense, I wasn't really surprised because I do see it. It was just really brought to my attention. Like, the light was shining bright on the motherfucking issue. We have come a long way since like the 50s when it comes to ads. If you guys remember, like a man in a suit on his way to work. Well, the woman is at home with her babies and her fucking dress in full makeup, vacuuming at the same time as cooking fucking dinner. Oh my God. Yeah, so we remember that crazy ass shit. And yeah, we have come a long way, except there's a lot of sneaky ways that sexism very much makes it into advertising and is building on these gender stereotypes, even though they're not as blatant as they were, say, in the 50s. So fun fact, women appear in 1 out of 10 ads, even though women are 3/4 of the population that make consumer purchases. What the fuck? So brands might use, ideas that are supposed to empower women, like to be braver and stronger and bolder rather than focus on physical appearance, except the critical subtext that's like fucking insidiously filtered in there is the fact that this puts insane pressure for women to be better, more fucking superwoman than ever before to be like accepted and okay. And that they still need to do more in order to succeed because they're not good enough. That is sneaky sexism. I mean, how many moms are you out there / do you know? I'm not a mom yet, but this pressure to like be a successful career woman and be fucking really hot and skinny and be an amazing mom and grow your own food and make everything from fucking scratch. And like, it's this insane pressure of more, do more. You have to be an executive at the same time as doing all of those things. No wonder why mental health is fucked for women, statistically speaking. Just saying. They go on to talk about that not only is it totally offensive, but it completely has a seriously negative impact on the way that girls view themselves. So by the time a girl is 17 years old, she has seen 250,000 ads in her lifetime up until that point, with the majority of them featuring negative gender stereotypes. This affects her self-image. This affects how she's perceived in the world. This affects the career that she believes that she can go into. And this affects her interpersonal relationships. So like basically everything about her reality. Why do brands still do this shit? Well, ultimately they're maintaining the status quo because it's easy. and they're fucking lazy. So basically these companies are showing these judgy ads to reinstill this idea of inadequacy in people so that they need these fucking things to become worthy of being fucking alive. So that they need these things to become what they're supposed to be. So insecurity equals desperation equals profit. It's psychologically effective, so they do it. The article goes on to say that what needs to happen is we need to recognize the positive benefits of inclusion in these ads. And there are companies that have been very successful doing just that. Denial, denial, I love ya. Denial, you're only a lie away. Yeah. Denial. So brands need to educate themselves so that they can spot the issue. Ignorance isn't a pass anymore. They need to lean into the people that they're trying to represent to make sure that they are heard and they are seen. And it's not just about hiring more females into the advertising industry. It's about making sure that those voices, those unique, epic voices are actually heard and valued. So there seems to be, and even was for me, confusion around the difference between sexism and misogyny because there is a fair bit of overlap. So one thing to note is that misogynists are always sexist, whereas guys who are sexist aren't always misogynistic. So here are my definitions. Sexism: economic, political, social discrimination based on gender and or the belief that men are superior than others. Whereas misogyny is this: blatant disregard and hatred of women, and enforces sexism by punishing those who reject an inferior status for women. There has to be an educational portion of not just here's some information to make you feel helpless about life. Here's how you can counter some of this stuff, because you have the power. Call people out, say something. Don't just like, and then like fucking curse them behind all of that. Say it. I mean, don't tell them to fuck off if it's inappropriate, but sometimes it's appropriate to tell someone to fuck off. I worked as a bartender on and off for like almost 20 years. And so guys, I have heard it all. So I was an assistant manager for a pub in a big city. The story's so fucked. So this like kind of socially awkward guy would come in every day and have a pint or two, and he was friendly, he was a little bit awkward, no issues. So this one day he came in, it was like Tuesday at like 7 or something, so it was early, it was slow, and I knew what he drank, so I was like started to pour his beer, and he came up and he sat down and he goes, Gita, come here. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, do you have any hand sanitizer behind the bar? And I was like, yeah, we always have like a 1 liter pump. I take this bottle of sanitizer and I put it on the bar, and he goes, Gita, come here. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, and I shit you not, you better wash your cunt out with an entire bottle of this before I fuck you. Yes, this is a true story. No exaggeration. He fucking said those words to me. So I take the hand sanitizer off the bar and put it away, and I responded like this: okay, this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna walk out that door and you're never coming back in here. Okay, and this is how calm I am saying it because I'm still totally in shock, okay? So he's like, I'm like, you're gonna walk out of that door and you're never fucking coming back here. And so he turned and walked away. And holy delayed reaction. So I didn't freak out or anything, but later on that night, I started drinking. I got hammered that night and the phone rang. So my friend picks up the phone and she's like, it's him. And I was like, yeah. And so we have a jukebox. There was a jukebox at this bar. And so it'd been playing all night, and we had like a CD rotation of like 8 CDs going, that if the jukebox was off, then there would be music always playing. But the jukebox had been going all night and the CDs had run out. Okay? And so I shit you not, it's like a fucking moment from a movie. I pick up the phone, I'm like, you cock-sucking motherfucker. Like I fucking lost my shit. I had processed what he said to me. I'd been drinking, fucking went off on this guy. Like I screamed my fucking face off, slammed the phone down, and then I turned around, like heaving like a fucking animal, and there was no music. It was like crickets could be heard. And I was like, Oh my God. I was like so embarrassed, also not, and semi-empowered. It was a mixed bag of all sorts of emotions, and people were just like looking at me with their beer going, holy shit. When I tell that story, I just told that recently to a buddy of mine, and his response was, because it's fucking crazy. Like, in what fucked up world did this guy think it was okay to say something like that to me? I mean, there were so many insinuations that were so inappropriate. And I love the word cunt, but not when it's used with aggression and misogyny. Then it's not a nice word. How to deal with sexism. Honestly, my intuition on this is to encourage you to use your instincts of how to do it. It's just that our instincts are often dulled by our adapters, which is what we do when we feel uncomfortable. So if you are a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser like me right over here, that might be hard. Like, I still find it hard to call people out. I don't always call people out, and then later I'm like, fuck, why didn't I say something? You know, we all experience those things, so it's like baby steps, one step at a time. So don't worry about it. If you haven't nailed it, you can. So it's just about working on it. So for example, in a work environment, something that you can do, so maybe you're sitting in a meeting and the boss says something really inappropriate about women or specifically to you, and you want to address the problem, but you want to be respectful because maybe he doesn't realize that he's been sexist, that he's not purposefully doing it, you know, but you still feel like, okay, like it needs to be addressed. So how do I do this? So a great way to approach that problem is to say, what did you mean by that comment? And if you remain poised and silent, it very oftentimes will lead that person to be like, oh, fuck, maybe it was offensive and not humorous. Because sometimes these sexist things are passed off as like jokes, but they're like stupid sounding and offensive, and the person just doesn't realize it. And I think that that's something important to keep in mind too, is that it's so ingrained in our culture that it's not always coming from a place of like purposefully trying to degrade or demean a woman. Some people, 100% man, you know, like that's going to be a thing. It's just also common that people don't know any better. And the only way to sort that out is to help them understand. And aggression isn't always going to garnish you the same results, because your point is going to be missed and you're diminishing yourself if you come at it in a very aggressive way. So just sort of saying, I'm just curious, you know, you said this thing and I'm wondering what you meant by that joke. Let him flounder in his discomfort. And honestly, I would say that you can use that tactic in many situations. I've done that behind a bar. Like, you know, someone makes a joke and I'm like, what did you mean by that? Oh man, you should see. People get so fucking uncomfortable. What do you mean? Like, I'm just like, blah, blah. And like they might make a comment about having a sense of humor, or, you know, whatever. They just get so uncomfortable and they backpedal and they do all sorts of stuff, and you just sit with that and let them fucking do their thing, because oftentimes their own discomfort is teaching them that what they said is inappropriate and not being received well. So another thing that happens is that sexism often will come with like a disclaimer, and this to me is like a gift. So if a guy's like, I'm not against women, but, or if he says, you know, this joke is usually deemed as sexist, but, you just jump right in there and say, you know what then? I don't really want to hear it. So I'm just going to stop you right there. Something along those lines. If he gives you a disclaimer, that's your out, take it. Right? Because people are like, you know, it's not a woman's fault, but I'm not sexist, but I don't hate women, but if you say but after something, that negates everything you just said. So you know that whatever's going to come out of his mouth is going to be some fucking bullshit. If you get annoyed with people calling, like with guys calling you sweetheart or honey, something you can ask them, especially if it's in like the workplace, you can say, hey man, do you like call other guys sweetheart? Do you call Ben over there honey? And just sort of question them and see what they say, and again, watch them flounder like a carp. Okay, so what do you do if it's in a social setting? So I find that humor is a great way to deal with things. I also find humor a great way to deal with almost fucking anything. So, but really, this can be a super handy thing to utilize in a social situation when there's sexist bullshit going on. So for example, man, you're moody. Is it that time of the month? Yep. What's your excuse? Zing! Women drivers. Ugh. I know, right? I mean, they're so considerate and statistically cause way less accidents. Man, it's just some guy banter. Doesn't it have to be funny for it to be banter? You throw pretty good for a girl. Well, you're pretty confident for an idiot. Women shouldn't walk around alone at night. No, men shouldn't attack women who are walking around alone at night. Women should know their place. We do. It's number 1. Boom! Mic drop. Fuck you and your mother. Bye! Woo! The shitty fucking insidious thing that still very much lives in the hearts of the patriarchs of the world. Let's not fuck around with that. Anyways, thanks so much for tuning into my video, guys. I really appreciate you watching all the way through to the very end. If you liked what you saw, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, get notified every single time I come online, which is once a week, so you can hear me say some shit that maybe will help you learn how to unfuck yourself going forward so that you can live your very best goddamn life. PMG out, bitches!
Potty, she talking naughty. Here to help your trouble, she don't judge nobody. Even if you're not at your top and it's a lie, she try to make you see a different train of thought.